Hey there, welcome back to the Botanical Journal. Today we're going to be painting some really cute watercolor asters. They're going to be a nice purple color. I just have my Koi watercolor set here, and I'm going to be using this Aquash water paintbrush. And this is going to be a real-time video, so if it's too slow for you, you can go into the settings and you can actually speed it up. It's just up to you. Otherwise, you can paint along with me. I have a yellow watercolor pencil and just some Canson watercolor paper. So we're going to be focusing all of our blooms kind of in the middle here and just like a big grouping bunched together. And the first thing I'm going to do is take this yellow watercolor pencil and I'm just going to kind of lightly put my centers in where I want them. So I have some that are going to be kind of more straight on and some that are going to be slanted a little bit. It's basically just a little oval to round shape. And you don't have to fill it in. I'm kind of just outlining it, trying to make it kind of balanced so that there's an even amount throughout the page. I really like using watercolor pencils for this because they blend so nicely and then you don't have to worry about those regular colored pencil marks. Now we're going to make up our first color and shade of purple. So I'm going to be using this really warm blue. I love this color so much and I use it a lot. And then I'm just going to add in a little bit of this bright magenta. It's going to give us a really vibrant purple. I feel like these two colors look super well together. So you can just keep adding and mixing until you get a color that you like. We'll be using lots of different shades of purple as well. If you want to start out lighter, just add a little bit more water. Once you have the right color and consistency, we're going to go in and make those petals. So this is just going to kind of be a teardrop shape, and some of them will be curved, but the narrow part of the petal will start at the center of the flower. So you'll lightly use your brush to make that first little stroke, and then as you go outward, it will get thicker, as you can see here. And then different angles and also different lengths of the petal can actually add in that really 3D kind of look. So I'm doing the bottom petals a little bit shorter and wider to make it look like those are closest to us and kind of angled upward a little bit. And I'm also not going to be going completely around the center with petals. I am doing kind of setting them up randomly because we'll be going back through with different shades of purple once this first layer is dry. So I'm just adding a few to each center. So you can see that top one is a lot longer and more narrow. And it really just helps give a visual depth to it, if that's the right way to say that. You'll be able to tell once this is finished. It just really makes it look like there is some more movement and it's not just a flat flower that we're looking at. These flowers are a great warm-up project, or just if you feel like painting. They're super simple and fun, but adding in these different shades of purple just really gives it a lot of dynamic, and I really enjoy painting these a lot. I've painted them a few times now, and they always come out looking adorable. They would look great as a wall piece or on a greeting card even, or even just something you hang up around your house. I have mine hung up with some other paintings that I have and just looks super cute. apologize for my head getting in the frame so much. I did not realize that was happening, obviously, or I would have avoided it. I feel like I get really tense while I'm painting, and I just like get really focused, and it's really easy to kind of not be aware of where my head is getting in the picture, so that's what's happening here. And now I'm gonna make my next shade of purple, so I just added a little bit more of that magenta color and mixed it in. This will not only change the shade, but it's also going to darken it up because I'm adding more pigment and not adding more water. So you do want to make sure that the first layer is dry unless you want the colors to blend, but personally I like waiting until the layer is at least mostly dry. Otherwise I feel like the colors all just kind of blend together and you don't get that effect of the different tones and shades. So I added a little bit more of the magenta just to darken it up some more. It looked pretty close to the first shade. Alright, that's a little better. Now I'm going to go around and once again I'm going to randomly place the petals, but I do plan on going back in with one more shade of purple, so I'm not going to fill in all of the gaps, just here and there, the same as the first time. And I'm avoiding the spots that aren't quite dry yet, and I'll do those last. It's really taking shape now. You can see that the different variations in the petal, not only widths but directions and just the size of them, really helps give it a 3D effect, and it's not just this flat looking piece. You can tell like the curved ones really make it look like the petal is curving out to the side, and they almost give it like a cupped look so that the petals are kind of, you know, going upward and out. The variation of color also gives it that depth, and not all of the petals are going to be hit with the light evenly, so it really helps just give it some more interest, and I really love how this turns out. Alright, so once you have that layer done, I'm going to add some more blue, a little bit too much. There's a little bit too much blue, so I'm going to scoop some off and rework it a little bit. But once again, we're just making another variation of that purple color. So I'll add a little bit more magenta back in there. And this will be the darkest and also a little bit more of a blue layer. Once you have that all mixed up, you can go and finish filling in your flowers. You can definitely see this one is more of a bluer tone to it than the last two have been. I love how this just flows and it's so imperfect. I didn't go through and trace out all the petals or anything crazy like that. You just kind of take the idea of what shapes petals normally are, especially for this flower, and you just kind of make a bunch of variations off of that and go with what looks good to you, and really you can't mess it up. I mean, it's a lot of fun to do this kind of painting. Okay, so now we've got all of those petals finished. We're going to move on to the stems. I'm just going to take this bright green onto my palette. And I'm going to mix in some of this other, more of a blue-green. And then I'm going to make a second green to the left here. For this one, it's going to be a little bit darker, but I added way too much blue again, of that same blue. I like tying in colors where I can, so since I use that blue in the flowers, I'm going to add in a little bit to the green. That'll help darken it, but it'll also help tie in to the color of the petals as well. So once you have some greens that you like mixed in, we're going to go ahead and make the stems. For this, especially if you're using a thicker brush like I am, you have to go really light-handedly to make these really thin stems like this. I'm just using the tip of my paintbrush, the very tip, going super slowly. Making some of them curved in a little bit. And then I'm going to make some leaves, so I'm just pointing my brush along the stem And then as I go out, I push down to make the width, and then I lift back up slowly. It's kind of like a little swoosh where you are pulling it. At first it's really light on the paper, then you push down a little, and as you get to the end, you slowly lift it back up to make that really sharp pointed angle. If you've never made leaves this shape before, you could, and you've gotten this far in the painting and you really don't want to mess it up, you could grab a piece of scrap paper and just practice that stroke a few times before you do it onto your finished piece. That way you'll be a little more confident and know how your brush is going to cooperate. So here I'm going to add in another little stem, and we'll be putting a little bud at the end of this. So I just kind of made three triangle looking leaves, and then I connected them at the base, and I'm making a stem to pull them together. So I let that dry for a bit, and now we're going to go back in with our second shade of green, and we're going to do the same thing, but this is going to once again add some variation and just give it some more interest. So we'll go back in doing these stems with a very light hand, and you can decide if you want them in the forefront or the background. Same for the leaves. You can layer them. And you definitely don't have to use two different greens either. As you can see, there was quite a bit of variation just with that lighter green and how the water moved it around. It looks really good just that way. So you could totally just do one green and call it great. But I decided to go another step further and just add in a little bit of a different green. And I'll add another little bud up here. So now I'm gonna get this purple really dark, and I'm going to go back through and add the little buds at the tops of those stems. And it's basically just going to be the same shape as the stem. So 3 little notches. to make it look like some really thin petals are poking through. About to open up there. So now we're going to get ready to do these centers, and I'm just going to use this really mustardy yellow color. Then I'm going to add in a little bit of this more lemony yellow color and blend those two. And now we'll go back through and do those centers. So we're just filling in those circles that we made with the pencil. Like a little oval shape that all the petals are radiating out from. Alright, so after these centers, we're going to be all finished up. I hope you all enjoyed this paint along with me and making these asters together. They are super fun and super cute. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos that I post. Hope you're having a great week, and I will see you in the next one.